Okay, you guys. Made a mountain look small. I wanted to talk about this dream that I had, and I believe it was talking about transitions. Um, so the dream was, it was like, how can I say this? Okay, there was people walking around. They were doing whatever they wanted to do. Like it was going by that busy old day. It was like a street. It was crazy because it was like a street and like a building. Looked like the top of it looked like a church building, but the bottom part looked like a business, like a big corporation business. And so it was like you walk inside. Like I walked inside this building, and it was people that were at the bottom, and people were like looking at them like they were gross, like they were disgusting. They were the low of the lows, the bottom of the bottoms. Someone was looked like they were like homeless hobos, kind of like the hobo look. Please don't take that derogatory. I've been homeless before, so yeah. And then some of them looked like they were just like cast out, like castaways, like drunkards, like prostitutes. It was a whole bunch like those kind of people. Not only that, it was people who had like they had some kind of rank before, but they were knocked out, like knocked out and placed at the bottom of the totem pole, and people were already discarding them. And then there were people who were going like in the middle. It was a street in the middle inside the building. It was a street. I remember this, and it was a four-road street, and the people were going back and forth like it was two-way traffic, but it was four lanes, like two on each side, and they were going back and forth, and people was just doing their own regular thing. And then there was people at the top, and some of these people at the top, this was really like different for me because the people at the top were they were like leaders. I knew that they were leaders. Like, and when they were at the top, they were some of them was really like up there, like really dominant and boss. All of them were dominant, but some of them were like dominant, like as far as dominant as how they control people, how they were very like territorial, I'll say. So and then I started seeing like little people. They look like real people, but I when I say little people, I mean like they look like humans. They was a little bigger than humans, but they were still young. They looked like kind of almost like angels without wings. But they were youthful. They were youthful, but they were strong. They were very, very strong, and they were stronger than all the people, even the people who was in power. And what was happening? Some of them was ripping off their sashes, ripping off the people's sashes. Some of the people who were in the high like powers at the top, they were floating up in the sky. Like it wasn't like it was it was kind of like a floating, but a different kind of float. I can't really explain it. It looked like it was floating, but I knew that they weren't floating. Like they were dying, but meaning like they were passing the baton, like it was a smooth transition. Other people were dying dead on the spot and falling on the floor and being laid in the street. That's what the dream was. And the people who were at the bottom, that the people were casting out, a lot of those, I think every single one of them in that dream, they were going up to the top. They were getting promoted from not from like started from the bottom, now we're here kind of thing, like started from the bottom, now we're here. They went all the way to the top, and they were not only like at the top, they were dominating. They were dominating the area. So, yeah, I wanted to give that. I wanted to give that to somebody because I know it has some kind of meaning. I know it's talking about territories, because that's when I woke up. That's what I got. That's what I got was the transition of territories. And I remember what God promised me and what God told me in this dream. It was so real, man. What God was the things that He told me are coming to pass. Like He was telling me that I was going to have this transition of power and the baton. But it's not just me. It's people all over the world, and if you look at it, you can see it, And then this happened a couple of days ago when I saw the dream. But as you know, you ask God, and you keep asking for. Let me roll up the window so I won't have to yell. You keep asking God for help and discernment and assistance in it, and He'll start telling you more about it. And so He was breaking it down for me, saying that some people in high position, it's time for a new transition, a new sweet aroma, a new fresh air. And what God was going to do was that he sees how they were acting, and some people are going to have a smooth transition, meaning either they're going to willingly pass over the baton, and they're going to slowly transition, and they've already been preparing someone to take their place, or they're going to have their kingdom or their territory or the leadership things that they have, because that's a territory. The leadership's ripped away from them. They're going to be taken away from them. They're still going to be alive, but they're going to have it taken away from them. They're going to have utter shame. You know, that's just like Saul was talking to Samson, and he, was ripped his garment, and he said the same thing will happen to him with the kingdom. That's what God reminded me of. You know, his kingdom will be separated from him. Other people, like I said, they're going to have a smooth transition, but then other people are going to face total humiliation and shame because they're in total rebellion. You know, Saul was in rebellion because he didn't, was it Saul, I think? Or was it Jesse? One of the, how he didn't want to, Saul didn't want to talk to his kids about going outside of the will of God and having a promiscuous life, having a lot of women, and he just, talked to him and he didn't discipline him. And some of those people, like, the people who were falling out, that was the rebellion, but the ones that I saw falling out dead, I mean, like, they were laying in the street, not covered, meaning that they didn't get a proper burial. It almost made me think about Jezebel, how she got killed by the people that she was, serving, who were in cahoots to her, the eunuchs, threw her over, and she was just laying there. She didn't have a proper burial. She was there for utter shame and disgust, so that's what I got out of it. Some people are going to be exposed for exactly who they are and for what they do. Some people will be humiliated and have it taken away because they're not doing the right things, but other people will have utter shame because they're in total rebellion, and they're the unrepentant, those people who don't want to change their ways and follow the true Yahweh. And when I got finished with that, it wasn't like I was excited after having this dream. I was not excited. I was nervous. I was, because you always want to, for me, I always want to be in alignment with God, and I know how easy it is to get out of His will, and I know the consequences, and I don't want to face God's wrath. God's wrath is way worse than any kind of demon, devil on earth, or anything that ever lives in the other realms. Okay. In heaven or hell. God's wrath is way worse. So, yeah, be mindful. I just wanted to drop that off. So a lot of people, and I know, like I said, a lot of people are getting elevated because God has been dealing not only with me, but with other people in territories and in areas and dominions, and showing us things that He is not pleased with the people who are in leadership. Think about what's going on in our world today with that whole thing, and the thing shut down, and our world shut down. It wasn't just one country, it was globally. Everything shut down. God is not pleased, but He is making His remnant. He says His remnant will always be here as long as it's the heaven and earth. His remnant is going to be here, but He's building up a people. He's building up a church, and when I say a church, I mean the people, the body of Christ, the people who follow and obey His will and are not afraid and not ashamed of standing on His word and standing on the promises of God. He's building them up. He's building us up so that we'll be able to hold the weight and to maintain what He's given to us. He tells us that, if you leave your mother and your father and you leave houses and land for Him, so much will be, 100-fold will be given to you. He ain't lying about that. God never lies. And when He says something, I'm a living witness He is, okay? Because He gave me I left a home that was over $100,000. He gave me something way better. I'm telling y'all. You got to follow God. Don't look at man. Don't look at the things. Don't look at these outside things. Follow God. God is the person who increases and decreases. And that's why I knew them little people in that doggone dream were like angels. Like, I couldn't explain how, but I knew deep down in my spirit because God promotes and demotes. So, and another thing, saying that, because God promotes and demotes, I'm getting really tired of people bashing our president. Now, I ain't vote for the man. I'm not going to sit here and lie. But in the long run, he still is our president. And the same way you're supposed to hooray for your president when it's somebody that you like, you're supposed to do the same thing when it's somebody that you don't like, because God has the final say as to how this person conducts and how he represents you, okay? Because he could be doing some bad stuff, but since you covered in the blood, God has his own. He protects his own, so he got to open. God will open up that man's heart, or open the people who are over you, are in control of you, who are governing over you. I won't say in control of you, who are over you, in leadership, to open their hearts to do things that blesses you. You know, there have been times in my life where I work with coworkers who couldn't stand me, or managers, or people who are above me, superiors that are above me in the workforce that can't stand my guts. It wasn't nothing that I did to them. They just did not like me, just because the way I looked, the way I said something, you know. And could I go after them? Even though a lot of the things, some of them would come out outright and do some outlandish stuff. Were they wrong? Yes. But I know what law and order says. God says, because I'm obeying God's law, not man's law. God says you pray for those people in leadership. He opens them up. Just like he did Pharaoh, he opened his heart and let them go. You know, even though he knew that. And he closed Pharaoh's heart too. He hardened his heart. You know, he's in control of that. You got to understand that it's something bigger. It's something bigger. Don't take it into your own hands. Follow that. Follow that manual that you got called the Bible, and your life will be so much better. I'm telling you. Don't be looking at outside forces and don't look for it, because you're going to be hurt every time. You're going to be hurt every single time. So, with that note, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully something I said or done will help you on your journey. Please stay tuned to Journey to Jerusalem, and I'm out. Thanks.